The Supreme Court, which was held up as a major shot at overturning the election thanks to a bombshell lawsuit for Donald Trump, has completely anticlimactically rejected the case. And this has made Donald Trump and many of his supporters absolutely lose their minds. Now, as a reminder, this was a lawsuit we discussed last week on the bonus show. It was a lawsuit by Texas backed by Donald Trump, suing to throw out or block the voting results from 4 different states. Now, the idea was Texas sued, claiming Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin were fraudulent, or as Trump says, fraudulent, and should be prevented from certifying the results, which officially happens today, December 14th, and may already have started by the time you listen to today's show or watch this clip. The idea was get this to the Supreme Court, and then Donald Trump's 3 Supreme Court picks will defiantly and heroically support the lawsuit and stop today's electoral vote certification. Now, the Supreme Court said no. Justices said Texas doesn't have standing to bring the case. We'll talk more about what standing means a little bit later. But this entire bombshell lawsuit that they've been claiming is going to just interfere and overturn the results, it's gone in an instant with the Supreme Court decision. The president absolutely lost it. Check this out. Donald Trump tweeting that the Supreme Court chickened out, saying, quote, "The fact that the Supreme Court wouldn't find standing in an original jurisdiction matter between multiple states and including the president of the United States is absurd. It is enumerated in the Constitution. They just chickened out and didn't want to rule on the merits of the case. So bad for our country." Now, of course, what's bad for the country is a president who clearly lost, unwilling to concede, unwilling to say he will go to the inauguration, unwilling to admit that his voter fraud claims are not based in fact. That's bad for the country. Trump then wildly tweeting in all caps, this went on for hours, really even days, "most corrupt election in U.S. history." Trump continuing to go at the Supreme Court, saying that, quote, "the Supreme Court had zero interest in the merits of the greatest voter fraud ever perpetrated on the United States of America. All they were interested in is, quote, standing, which makes it very difficult for the president to present a case on the merits. 75 million votes." Now, of course, Trump got 75 million, but Joe Biden got way more and won the Electoral College. Trump's White House press secretary and senior campaign advisor, she's both, Kayleigh McEnany, appeared on Fox News with Sean Hannity moments after the decision on Friday and said the Supreme Court dodged.
Yeah, there's no way to say it other than they dodged. They hid behind procedure, and they refused to use their authority to enforce the Constitution.
So look at how quickly, number one, friends become enemies for Trumpists. This is typical of narcissists. It's very, very typical. You're the friend, and he's built the greatest Supreme Court with his 3 picks, and thank God Trump got to pick them instead of Hillary. Except now the Supreme Court is chicken and the Supreme Court dodged. So very quickly, friends become enemies when the paradigm is narcissism, weaponized narcissism. And number 2, look at how quickly the goalposts are moved. First, it was we will overturn states with recounts. Recounts didn't work. And then they said, well, right, the recounts recounted fraudulent ballots. So, of course, the recounts are fraudulent as well. We need to throw out ballots. Couldn't present any evidence. Every court said no. So next it went to prevent certification by states, but states certified. So it was sue to block December 14th certification. Go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said no. Now there were more intermediate steps. I'm giving you the highlights. They're irrelevant. They'd always find more steps, more reasons to say, donate money to us to fight this or to fight that. There really is no end to it. The reality is, if you thought it hadn't already ended weeks ago, we now are at the end. And at the end of the show, I'll tell you about today's electoral votes officially being cast. They won't be counted in Congress until the first week of January, presided over by Mike Pence. That'll be a day. But we'll talk a little bit later about what's going on today. One of our sponsors is privacy.com. They're giving you $5 when you sign up for their completely free service at privacy.com/Pakman. I've been using Privacy for a little over a year now. You've heard me talk about it before. It's a lifesaver, and here's how it works. Takes just a couple of minutes to set up. Anytime you buy something online or on the phone, instead of actually using your real credit card number, the privacy app and the browser plugin let you give each company a randomized virtual credit card number that you create out of thin air. It'll even autofill the card number with one click. And the payment is taken out of your checking account without the merchant ever knowing your real information. So this allows you to keep your banking information secure, but also to take control of your finances. You can create up to 12 of these virtual credit cards a month. You can set spending limits. You can freeze them. You can delete them anytime you want. So when you do this, it means you're not going to be charged when you don't want to be, because you can destroy the virtual card number right after using it, which, for instance, I love using free trials because I know I won't be charged when the trial is over if I use a virtual credit card number. You're keeping your identity private by not telling companies who you are. You're keeping your bank or credit card info protected against data breaches and identity theft, and it's free. There's no catch whatsoever. But if you want, Privacy also offers a $10 a month plan that gives you 1% cash back and lets you create 36 credit cards a month, and a $25 a month plan tailored more for small businesses where you can create 60 card numbers a month and much more. But definitely go ahead and at least get started with the free plan. You'll protect your financial info. Companies can't charge you unexpectedly. And like I said, you'll get $5 to spend when you sign up at privacy.com/Pakman.